Now it's time for the Voice for the Industry podcast.
Well, Krista, this was a really great episode. Speaking with Leah Hazelwood, the co-owner of Go Forth Pest Control, also started a marketing company because of Go Forth Pest Control, and some really fascinating perspectives on balancing family and work life. I just thought it was a great episode, and I'm really excited for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, she talks about her family life balance and then her being a woman in the pest control industry, and it's some really good insights.
Yeah, that was really a fascinating conversation, and just their company's doing great, and it was just a great conversation to have with her. All right, everybody, enjoy. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Voice for the Industry podcast. Very excited today. Our guest is Leah Hazelwood, and I'm going to read you her bio. So I kind of messed up, so I'm going to pause. Hello, and welcome to the Voice for the Industry podcast. It's great to be here today. I have Leah Hazelwood, CEO of Go Forth Marketing and Vice President at Go Forth Home Services in High Point, North Carolina. Welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Excited to chat today.
Our pleasure. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day. We really appreciate it. Well, let me get started. I'm going to read you your bio, and then we can just start talking about some stuff. Leah Hazelwood is the CEO of Go Forth Marketing and Vice President at Go Forth Home Services in High Point, North Carolina, which I just said. After working in the advertising industry, Leah joined her husband Chase's third-generation pest control company in 2009. For the next 13 years, she worked in various roles at the rapidly growing business, including marketing, customer service, sales, accounting, and administration. During this time, the company built a robust internal marketing team, including videographers, writers, social media managers, and digital marketers. In 2022, she spun off the pest control company's internal marketing department into its own business, continuing to serve as the entire marketing arm for Go Forth Home Services, but now also offering services to other clients. Still highly involved in working right down the hall from her husband, Leah's role at Go Forth Home Services is focused on internal and external marketing and community endeavors. Leah and Chase have 4 school-age children and multiple other sister businesses. Wow, welcome. That's a lot. It's a good bio.
Yeah, it is. It's Monday, and I'm just figuring out which hat I got on right now.
Yeah, I bet. I bet you have a whole rack. That's pretty funny. And I didn't know about the marketing thing, so we'll talk about that too, about how you created the company. That's really interesting. But today we're going to talk kind of focused about family business, some of the challenges, some of the thrills, agony of defeat, a thrill of victory, and then talk a little bit about the role of women in the industry. So, you work with your husband. You've worked with him for a long time. It's a business that his family had, that you married him and became part of his business. So, what are some of the challenges or bigger challenges you face being part of a family-owned business?
So I'm just going to jump in and be vulnerable from the beginning.
That's what it's all about.
I think the biggest challenge of working with family is they get to see you fail. A lot of couples, a lot of family members, brothers, siblings, sisters, whatever the relationship may be, they have their personal relationships, and then everybody goes on their own professional worlds, right? And you don't really see each other fail in business, but you do when you work together, right? And so that can be really hard to have someone that you love and whose opinion matters a lot to you, for them to have to see you mess up in the workplace. And so for me, that's something that has definitely been challenging. But the flip side is that I think, appreciate them more because everything that they did that day, everything they dealt with, maybe the spouse or the brother or the sister or the parent that you work with, had to make that really difficult decision, or they had to fill in and go treat for somebody who didn't show up. They had a difficult conversation with a vendor or a customer, whatever that may be. But yes, you can see them fail more, but you also see everything that they deal with, and they sacrifice and contribute day to day for the sake of the business and the employees. And so I think it's a double-edged coin, right? I think you definitely get closer, you get to know each other better, and you appreciate each other more. But you just gotta be comfortable with seeing literally the whole person.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I never really thought about that perspective. But what makes me think of is when COVID first hit and everybody started working together. I remember seeing somebody posted and they said, now that I'm in the same, I can hear my husband working. He's one of these "I'll ping you" guys, and I'm not sure if I can handle that. Right? So you see like you said, you see everything. And you see the failures, but also like you said, you get to see the successes. You can be proud and admire your partner because of the things they can do at work. But that's a pretty interesting perspective that I've never thought of. All right, so considering that, I mean, you're working with your husband, you're living with your husband, you're raising your family, you're doing all this. How do you separate your family life from your business? Are you able to, or how do you manage that? And got any advice for people, because you've obviously been doing it pretty successfully?
Well, that's very kind of you to say we've been doing it successfully. I'll say in general, we don't separate. Who I am as a professional is part of who I am as a human being. And I know my husband feels the same way, and we want our children to see that. My daughter recently came to me and said, "Mom, I think it's really important that you love what you do for your job." And I said, "Well, Tess, yes. However, there's going to be a lot about what you do for your job that you're not going to love. And what's more important is that you've decided that you can be passionate about it, and you are going to work hard at it and work your very best at it day after day after day." And so I think it's important for them to see us come home and bring our professional selves along with our mom self and our wife self. So we really don't separate. We like to be able to have, a lot of times we've got so much going on, as a lot of working families do, that you work together, but you realize that you don't always spend a lot of time together in the workplace, because you kind of find where each person, gravitates and has more impact. And so honestly, coming together at the end of the day sometimes is where you have those higher level strategic conversations. Now, with that said, I think that means that as family businesses, we have to be very cognizant of, are we letting it overpower our personal life? So it's very important to us. We're going to talk about it over Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to do things like that. But at the same time, remembering that, we're still husband and wife, we're still mom and dad to our kids. And, sometimes that means you got to kind of call each other out, right? And say, okay, we've gone to our anniversary dinner and we've talked business for an hour. Maybe now we talk about, football or the weather. Not really, but life,
something not work related, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a fascinating perspective too. So you have 4 children.
Yes.
What are they? Boy, girl, boy. What's the denomination?
We have 3 boys, and then our daughter.
Is the daughter the youngest?
Yes, she is.
Oh boy, I bet that's a good spot for her to be in. 3 older brothers.
Yeah.
Well, I have 5, and it's boy, girl, boy. So I call them my bookend boys. But anyway, well, that's fantastic. And they're all in school still?
Yes, they're all in school. They're like 10 to 15 years old. And so what's, another benefit of family-owned business, right, is our children have an opportunity to be exposed to working younger in life, right? So they're coming in this summer. I've got one of them here with me today, right? And literally they may be organizing the uniforms, right? Or sweeping out the chemical shed, or, sometimes we try to have them do research projects and things for us. So I think that it's really, really neat. I'm envious of them growing up with parents that own a family business, because they can, I think, get a quicker head start on figuring out what they like and don't like about a working life.
And I think it shows them, like, the reality of work, and you need to work and you have to work. And, unless you just happen to be independently wealthy, which most of us aren't, a job's really important. So I think it's fascinating. And I also think that's something about this industry, because I go to a lot of conferences and meetings, and people bring their family, their children all the time. Right. So it's pretty fascinating how the family and the children are all tied into this industry, so strongly. So what values from your family have helped shape the way you lead your company or your team at work? I mean, you have your family side, like you talked about, but what are some of the things from the family side that you've been able to bring over to work?
So great question. So one of them I alluded to earlier when I was saying you need to find passion, right? So I feel like a lot of times when we were growing up, we were told like, you can be anything you want to be. And yes, you need to like find what you love and do it. And the reality is that you shouldn't hate what you do. Right. And you should chase your dreams, but you really should find something that you're willing to be passionate about and give your all at and do your very best at, because there's going to be hard days, and your why's got to be more than, I find it fun or I love it, because there's going to be hard days no matter what you do. And so passion is one, right? So we preach that to our children, like, find, you can play any sport you want, you can play any instrument you want, right? But we're going to find something that we can really work hard at and set goals and really try to achieve. And so relating that back to our employees, we talk a lot about like, we actually, one of our core values is give a crap, like really care about every detail, care about, is your shirt ironed, care about, did you drive safely, care about, were you friendly, care about obviously following the instructions on the label, like does your not paperwork, so we don't have paper anymore, but the way you input technology into the software, and data into the software, care about every little thing. So that's one, the passion. Growth, again, encouraging in our family, we're all, constantly growing humans, learning new things, getting better at things, improving on, deficiencies. And so same thing with our employees. Anyone that during an interview process indicates that they just want to be doing the same thing, the same way with the same level of knowledge 10 years from now, they're not going to be a good fit, because we're going to push them. We're going to try to get them to get certified and go to educational classes, maybe get promoted, maybe try a new line of business within the company. Like that's part of who we are, is challenging one another. So growth is a big one. And then empathy is a big one. So in our family, I talked earlier about understanding what your spouse had gone through during the workday. I think that, that obviously lends itself to empathy. Raising teenagers is very hard, but we really try to put ourselves in their shoes and remember that, they can't necessarily control every little word they say in an outburst. So then relating that back to our employees and just keeping in mind that, they're humans, right? And we don't know what they go home to at the end of the day. We don't know what happened that morning on the way to work. And so we encourage all of our leaders to try to lead with empathy and try to, just keep in mind that we're all here trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
Yeah, no, and that last thing you said really strikes with me, because I've never really thought of it that way. We all have bad days, we all have rough mornings, and we all have things in our life that weigh over us sometimes, and we're going to bring it to work, right? And as employers, I think sometimes we do forget, like, just, somebody might get ready to walk in the office, so to speak, even though that doesn't happen much anymore, and they just had something going on that's caused them not to be at their best. So I think and I never really thought about it that way. So you said a few things that really have kind of got me thinking. I'm thinking back how, when I was a manager and stuff, that it's like, gosh, I wish I'd have had that perspective. That's really
it has
great.
to be balanced, right? Yeah. It has to be balanced. Just because you had a bad morning doesn't mean you can come in and talk back to a coworker. But I think it's just, I think as a leader, it causes us to react a slightly slower in a good way, right? To things that we're unhappy with, and how we word feedback, trying to be empathetic to folks is important as well.
Yeah. Well, it's important that the employees realize that that's how you feel too, right? That you are concerned about them, and you do consider or take into consideration that they have these things going on sometimes. So I think that's great. And when we did our little pre-meeting a week or two back, you also brought up something I thought was pretty interesting. I'd like you to elaborate on was, we talked about like working in the family business, and you basically said you got to make sure it's a job you really want to do regardless. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I think that as with all things family, emotions run high and resentment can be a real thing. And, we've talked several times today about there's going to be hard times and there's going to be bad days. And if you don't have a why for why you're in this career, in this business, in this industry, outside of the fact that it's because my mom and dad did it, or it's because my husband does it, or it's because my brother and sister do it, then I think that can really lead to resentment on those bad days. So I think it's important, whether you're already in the family business or you're thinking about getting in, to take the time and define your own why. For me, like, why is Leah working at Go Forth Home Services in the pest control industry, right? I have my own why that's outside of, because I don't have a choice,
Right.
because again, like, I think without that, it can really lead to feelings of resentment when you have, the days where, as with, like I said, all family owned businesses, you have more flexibility, but at the same time, you never get vacation, you never really get time off. And so I think it's, there's things that could really eat at you if you didn't have a why outside of the obligation of working in the business.
And that makes a lot of sense, because if you're doing a job you really don't want to do or don't like, and then you add in the family dynamic, it could make it a lot more challenging for sure.
Right.
That's pretty fascinating. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk a little about the roles of women in the pest control industry. The reason you're a guest, or the main reason, is you were at the MPMA Women's Forum and you were on a panel, and I wasn't there, regretfully. I'll be there next year. But I heard about it, and I heard some of the topics, and I thought they were really fascinating. So how have you seen the role of women in the pest control and lawn care industry change over the years? You've been around a little bit of time now, and you've seen it from a few different perspectives.
Yeah. So joining in 2009, right? I don't have decades and decades of,
Right.
But let's be honest, it's not even the same world as it was back in 2009 in some ways. And I have just found it so fascinating how an industry that is traditionally understood, perceived as, and even reflected on TV as, like an old boys club, right? Where, it's like in any Disney cartoon or Pixar cartoon, the pest control person is always seems like they're portrayed as like a dumb, overweight,
A bumbling,
older white male.
Yeah.
And I've just been so fascinated over the course of the last 15 or so years at how this industry in many ways lends itself to being one where women can succeed, very much so. Women are traditionally, at least in my experience and what we've observed in our company, they're more successful salespersons. They build rapport faster with customers. They build trust faster with customers. They're also very good at, the science says none of us can multitask, but let's call it being able to get a lot of different things accomplished in a day. And so I feel like the natural skill set that I've seen in a lot of female employees allows them to excel in this industry for all of those reasons. I've also seen that it's a really good industry, the field positions, where a lot of times, not in all companies, but a lot of times, it's not necessarily, you have to clock in at, 8:00 every day and you have to clock out at 5:00 every day. It's more about, I've got this many stops to do, this much production to do. And so I have a little bit more control that if I need to start earlier tomorrow, because I need to get off early to go to a doctor's appointment for my child or a school play, for single moms, I've seen that it's actually a really conducive schedule for them as well. So I've seen anywhere from, the office to sales to field positions. I've just been pleasantly surprised at, I guess, the opportunities that I have to talk to friends that I went to college with, right? And they're like, how do you end up in a pest control company? And it's like, how have you not? Right. Because it's really a place where I've seen so many women just succeed just due to kind of the natural skills that are needed for the job. A lot of times come very naturally to women.
Yeah, no, attention to detail, like you said, personal relationships. I agree 100%. But it's funny though, that, you touched on it, but us in the industry sometimes tend to forget that for most people in the world, when you think about killing, pest control and all that, it's kind of like, what? It's something nobody wants to do, right? But then, once you're in it, you realize how amazing it is, right? All the facets of it are pretty interesting.
It's really a nurturing. I mean, yes, we're out there like killing ants and spiders, but really what we're doing is improving the quality of life for our customers, right? We're making life easier. We're making life more enjoyable. In many ways, we're making life safer. And that's a purpose that I think resonates with men and women for sure, but not just with men, right? It's a very, I see it as a very service forward, nurturing type business that we're in.
Yeah. We're here to help people. That's really, like you said, at the end of the day, I mean, nobody wants to eat from a restaurant that doesn't have pest control. If they know it.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Well, what do you think, or what do you picture, or what do you hope that the future looks like for women within, like, in leadership, within family run organizations, or just in general, kind of where do you see things going?
From a pest control perspective, I really hope that the industry as a whole, and I think we're making major strides in this area, but just continues to market better and more and smarter towards female potential employees. Again, I think we make a lot of efforts for offering development opportunities like the Women's Forum for women that are already in the industry. But I think if I look at it in total, I think I still see most of the job like posters or images, social media posts. It's still very, very, very male dominated. And so I think as an industry, we need to be cognizant of that. Are we representing women in our employment marketing the way that we want to? So that's something that I hope, because I think that'll lead to us seeing more and more women in the industry, which I think is a very good thing all around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that, again, that's, everywhere you go, anytime there's a meeting, anytime more than 3 pest control people together, somebody's talking about how hard it is to find employees, right? And that's a great point, is where are you trying to get your employees from? And are you doing things specifically to be attractive to female employees? Because, as you said, female employees are generally pretty good employees for the most part. Right. So it's a good thing. So I did not realize that you actually basically took the marketing department of GoForth and created a company. I'd love to hear about it. What's the name? What are you guys doing? Just tell us all about it. Shameless plug time.
Sure. So surprise, surprise, the name is GoForth Marketing.
Oh, there you go.
So GoForth, backing up a little bit, GoForth is a family name. So our GoForth Home Services pest control company was founded by Frank GoForth in 1959. So GoForth is a family company.
Wow, I did not. That's crazy. I did not know that. Yeah.
But the phrase is really, really suitable to marketing. Go forth, right? Go forth your brand. Go forth your business. Go forth. So definitely thought that it worked well in the industry, and I didn't have to start from scratch. And we kept the name because we have such a strong brand awareness and positive brand image here in the central part of North Carolina, which we call the core, the North Carolina core. So we wanted to play off that. But yeah, so try to make the long story short, right when COVID hit, we had already built up our internal marketing team to 4 individuals who were handling digital marketing, social media, and strategy. And right when COVID hit, we had recently hired a film company to put all of our training and corporate communications on video, because we were rapidly expanding. Branches were all over the place. And we realized, all right, these messages that are passed from, CEO to COO to all these branch managers, they're training inconsistently. The messaging's, not being translated consistently, or it's just coming through in an email. So we had hired them to do all this video work. COVID happened, all of their other business shrunk up. And so we actually absorbed that film company and inside, and we said, all right, now in addition to all that training, you're going to help us with, any type of employee engagement, recruiting videos, like day in the life type videos, in our marketing and advertising. So now we're at 7 folks, and we've got this incredibly talented group. and we start getting phone calls from our vendors, from our accountant, things like that, saying, hey, our car dealership, our camper dealership, saying, man, your marketing team's great. Like, how can we use your marketing team? We're like, well, no, I mean, they work for us.
Right.
And then we started thinking, well, they could if we spun it off into its own business. So Chase and I decided to do that. And with my background in advertising, I decided to step in as CEO and lead that company. And so over the last 3 years, we've grown to about 13 folks.
Wow.
Continue to offer the same services, but now outside of just for Go Forth Home Services. We do a lot of work with other service type businesses, no other pest control companies currently, but other service businesses, as well as a lot of nonprofits and sports organizations. One thing that I find that I think will resonate a lot with the pest control audience is we found that as an internal marketing group, we had gotten really, really good at what we call internal marketing. So what I was talking, recruitment marketing, HR marketing, engagement, like building employee engagement and culture, like introducing core values in an interesting way, celebrating employees who got promoted. And that has been the service that has been most intriguing to other service industries as well. Hiring us, not necessarily to come in and sell their widget or their service, but to help them get the employees. Because as you said, that's like the biggest challenge. And so I say all that to encourage the pest control audience to make sure that you're budgeting for like that type of marketing, not just, to sell new customers to kill their bugs, but we're also, if not more importantly, needing to put strategy and time and energy into marketing to the right employees to make that easy. So that's just been something that I was pleasantly surprised about, that it was actually that what we call internal marketing experience that was sexier to other service industries more so than external sales marketing.
I like the framing it as internal marketing, because it really does kind of elevate it beyond just like, trying to get your employees' attention. I mean, you've created. I mean, you're taking a marketing approach, so you're like putting together plans, and you're making it very systematic, which I think a lot of companies don't do. I think the HR person sends an email, or they do this or do that, but I think and that's probably a good reason why you guys have been so successful and grown so fast, because you're really, not only are you caring about your employees, but you're also make a lot of effort to make sure that they're getting the information they need to be successful. And I think that's amazing. And I did want to ask you earlier, you said one of your core values is give a crap, right? Do you have like give a crap plaques you give out, or t-shirts or coffee cups or anything like that?
No, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'd love to get one. Yeah.
My department, they are on our walls. So all of our core values are on the walls in our company, in our all of our offices. But that's a good idea. The Give a Crap award.
Well, I meant to ask you earlier and I forgot. All right. Well, this has been really good. So we've kind of gone through the things we talked about. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you feel like you want to share with the 7 or 8 people, or the 12 people maybe now that are watching this? I'm kidding. But is there anything else you want to bring up or just share?
I think, I really appreciate this opportunity, and it really is just a testament to this industry. It is amazing how supportive and collaborative our industry is. So I think, I would just want to encourage the audience to reach out to fellow operators. There's an innumerable amount of bugs out there, right? Our population's growing. There's new neighborhoods popping up. I think that, competition, if you're new to the industry or you haven't opened yourself up, I guess I'm saying it's not, the competition within pest control is not like it is in marketing, right, for example. Everybody is more than willing to share ideas, to share knowledge, to give advice, and to learn from one another. And that can be done, over a phone call. That can be, just reaching out one-on-one, going to like the women's forum or your state association. So I think that, I just encourage everybody to take advantage of that, because it is something special about our industry.
Yeah, it really is. You think most other industries, you think if I don't want to deal with my competitors, because if my competitors know what I'm doing, it's going to hurt me. In this industry, you actually will be better. You'll be more successful if you work with your competitors and you share information. It makes you better, and it doesn't hurt your business at all. That's another, again, one of those things that people in the industry really understand. But you don't, I've been to other conferences and I deal with other industries, and it's just not like that. You don't have that open collaboration where people really just want to help each other, and they want to help their coworkers as well, and their competitors too. So that was fascinating. All right. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring Carissa back in.
Great.
Oh, there she is. Hello, Carissa. So this is a part of the podcast where we try to have a little bit of fun, ask a couple questions, do silly things sometimes. So I have a question, and then I'll ask it. Each of us answer it. I'll go first to give you a chance to think about the answer. So if you have, and I think we all have it, if you have a useless superpower, what is it, and what do you do with it? And I'll tell you mine. My useless superpower is I just have this innate gift of knowing when something is about to be done, when it's cooking. So I can put something in the air fryer or whatever, set it for 20 minutes, wander around, do whatever. And then I'll be like, okay, it's pretty close. And I'll look and there's like 5 seconds left. And I've done it over and over and over. It's a proven useless superpower. I've tried to think of ways to capitalize on it. And I really can't, but that's my useless superpower. Carissa, would you like to go next?
I think. I don't know.
You don't know? Or a real superpower. How about that? A superpower, whether you consider it useless or not. I consider mine useless. How about that? That's something you're really good at, something unique, something like that.
Nothing unique. I'm just like super organized, so I try not to miss a lot, as Raymond knows. I try to stay on top of everything. That's just, like, it's good. It's not useless, but that's all I can really think of.
All right. Leah, you got anything? It's not a good question.
It's hard.
Well, I would argue that your useless superpower isn't useless. Like that sounds very useful to me. If I could just walk away from the stove and just come back at the right time.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, and I think there's a lot of people out there who also would argue this is not useless, but there's definitely a way to maximize space in a dishwasher. Like, if you really take the time to think about how you've got stuff put in there, you could get twice as much as your son did, for example.
So you're not so useless superpower. You can really pack a dishwasher.
Oh yeah. Or like a car, like you're going on vacation. Like there's a way that you could get more in if you think about how you put everything in the back of the car.
I don't think that's useless at all. And I don't know about other people, but in my life, I've had friction with other people and how I like to put stuff in the dishwasher, right? Versus how they like to put stuff in the dishwasher. And my rule is if I'm loading it, it's going to be my way. If you want to do it, you do it your way, you do it, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the ability to pack and get things and fit things and get more in. That's definitely a real superpower as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not that good at it. I struggle, but I could do pretty good with a dishwasher. But I'm sure you could probably come in and do some little feng shui on mine and make it better. I'm sure. So, all right. Well, this has been really good. I got to tell you, when we did our pre-meeting, which we do, when we have a podcast, we meet with the guests and we kind of go through stuff, and we went through and you were kind of sharing some of your thoughts. I was so excited to do this one, and it's been great because you really do bring some unique perspectives that I certainly haven't really taken into consideration. So I'm sure a lot of people out there are going to really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being a guest. We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you have a good rest of the day.
You too.
All right. Well, bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.